request from the chair of the planning board to discuss those issues at our joint meeting that's been tentatively scheduled for November 15th. So we can talk about that. But yeah, so that's, I guess, the gist of it. And I've not received anything officially, just a phone call, but I imagine that Trish is going to send something, and then I'll take a look at it. Yeah, go ahead.
And
Mr.
Mark,
Okay.
so you said, should there be anything that should you could be concerned about this? I did not get to watch the planning board meeting. I did get updated about it. What I would say is, I don't think you as a resident need to be concerned about this. The project is still moving forward. The consultant knows what they're doing. The steering committee, you've seen a couple of the meetings in person. It's a very large group with a lot of interest and a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. So I don't think you need to be concerned,
Okay.
is what I would
for
say.
that, yeah.
Mr. Herbert, sir?
Uh-oh. Okay, Michael. Well, do you have a different question, Peter? Mark?
No, he knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Mark, I don't really have too much more to add.
Oh, yeah, Mark, I think we answered your question. Did you have something else you wanted to ask, or?
Well, I just wanted to see if there was any repercussions or anything that was understanding or not understanding at the time, and just wanted to see, because I've been, like I said, I've been going to it. I've been wanting to be on it, on that comprehensive plan, but I've been sending up with forwards, and I have since ceased sending out dozens of emails, which I think Mr. Herb is happy about. And I just wanted to say that. And the other thing would be there's the meeting in a couple of weeks at the new Mendez cafetorium. Where is it?
Well, Mark, I'm glad you actually brought that up, because as of right now, it looks like it is going to need to change, and it will not be at the Mendez Cafetorium. We're still working out some of the technological features, let's put it that way, of the school, and we don't have the new space determined. It might actually be virtually. We're still working on that. Okay. But
and one thing I would suggest, I think we have update in a comprehensive plan. I was thinking of a general update, so we can think about, we want to discuss things under that one coming up soon, right? Under C, in your bus tour.
The bus tour.
Yeah, the big bus tour. So, okay. Anyone else for citizens' participation?
Okay, I'm done and saying
Okay. Thank you,
happy after Halloween, happy after my birthday, which was yesterday.
Great.
I made it through a scary 66 years. Now I'm at 67. Thank you.
All right, great. So the next item on the agenda is the vote to close, sign, and post the special town meeting warrant for November 29th, 2023. So, Jen, you want to, or Michael, going to present this?
So it's a pretty straightforward warrant for our special town meeting. We always start with free cash appropriation. The only difference between what you have in front of you and what we will post is that typically when I went back and looked at our old warrants, we started putting the table that shows the account breakdown. So that has to be part of the motion, but sometimes we don't post the full warrant book until a week or so before. So we've included it in the actual warrant that's posted once you close it. And so our free cash total is $1,743,648, and so that breaks down using our policies for $25,000 into our general stabilization fund, $515,594 in the OPEB trust account. $200,000 will go to SPED stabilization account, and $931,689 will go to capital. And then this year, I think that we have discussed the opioid settlement funds that we had received. The way that was set up, it sort of fell to free cash because there wasn't an account yet that we could set up, that we could roll it over year to year. And so we are going to allocate the $71,364,000 for the opioid settlement activities back into our account so that we can do some of those activities over this year. So
Yeah, could I just, I'm not sure I understand that. So we're supposed to get funds from the settlement, but.
we are. So it came to us, and then we didn't expend it in that fiscal year. So we don't have like a revolving account or another account that we were able to sort of roll it year to year.
So did it end up in free cash?
It did,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so we're just
now you're
taking it
reusing
and
Okay.
reappropriating
All
back
right,
in
thank you.
for the
Oh,
reasons.
okay.
Yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear.
Yeah, DOR hasn't authorized communities to put it in a revolving account or a receipts reserved account yet, so that's why we're having to go about it this way. It's not like we missed setting up an account, it's DOR has
Yeah, we're
missed
waiting for some
setting up
guidance
some
from DOR,
guidance.
yeah.
So that $1.7 billion number, that total that you read, is that inclusive of the opioid, or is that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, okay, thanks.
Question on the opioid, is that something, a recurring settlement that we think we're gonna be seeing every year, or? Oh, okay.
Yeah, for several years. Actually, there's a couple of settlements
Okay.
that we were a part of and participated in, and this is one.
Okay.
So-
So where would that money be earmarked for? Would that go towards Board of Health programs and things of that nature? Human services,
Prevention
okay.
and human services,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, so as part of the new, like the, sort of the, under Kristen French, we have the Department
Yep.
of Prevention and Human Services. They'll be doing a lot of work.
Okay, cool.
That's-
So they can start new programs or whatever and follow through. Thank you.
One last question, because our packet, will we see what capital is gonna be done?
Yes.
Okay.
You mean the capital projects?
Yeah,
Yes.
because there's amount for capital and we need to, okay.
Yeah, and you said that the full packet's posted and.
Will be
is that
once we
right?
vote it.
Oh, once, okay, but it's in the full packet that you're gonna post, and then are you guys gonna send a follow-up?
Yeah,
to-
we're meeting with FinCom
FinCom.
next Tuesday.
And so we'll go over some of the capital then, and then
Okay.
the final amount.
email
with
all those figures and stuff?
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Yeah, I can send this updated,
Yeah,
yeah.
great.
That'd be great.
That-
Thank you.
Um, this second article is just, the property tax exemptions for eligible seniors, which we do.
Thank you.
Article 3 is the senior tax work-off program, and that's just to sort of reaffirm our program. And then this year, there's, we're asking to be able to extend the number of hours that seniors can work, and then also the cap amount that they can earn. So right now, I think we cap it at $750. The law allows us to cap it at $1,500, and actually, even this year, they went to $2,000, but we thought the $1,500 at this point. And it also allows them to work 125 hours, and right now, it's capped at 100.
Okay.
Article 4 is accepting a donation of land for 0 Fountain Street. It's about 10,000 or 11,000 square feet. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a bit.
No, well, just, this is a donation that Bill and Carolyn Bell had offered. This is land that Bill Bell's father had acquired. And I guess back in the day, he was a fairly prominent developer in town. And so he still has some pieces of property that he bequeathed to Bill and Carolyn. And so this is about a 10,000 square foot property. It's landlocked, but talking to Becca and Sophia, our conservation agent and assistant conservation agent, they thought it provided a lot of habitat value because it's very wooded. It's in the middle of a neighborhood, but it's very, very wooded.
Where is it? 0 Fountain Street? So it's
Yeah,
like-
it's kind of sandwiched between that and, is it Bellevue? I want to say it's
Oh.
Bellevue Heights, but I could totally be wrong about
Okay.
that.
So is that the Framingham end or the other end?
Framing, Fountain Street, I mean, it's towards the eastern part of town, yeah. So,
Well, I mean, it's 0 Fountain Street, so it's either one end or the other, but I don't know what way the numbers run on Fountain Street. So is
Gotta be
that
near the
coming from,
Framingham.
so coming from Framingham, Fountains, where Fountain Street starts, right side or left side?
it doesn't really work that way.
Oh.
It's, so you have a number of parcels that, have, for some reason, they're unclassified or don't have a direct
A
street
number,
address
I
because
see.
they haven't been built upon.
Okay.
And so they haven't been assigned an address. So like I said, this is actually sandwiched in between a subdivision, which I believe is sandwiched itself between Bellevue and Fountain Street.
Okay.
So Bellevue's the other side.
Yeah, Bellevue's
Bellevue's-
right like at
Yeah.
Midness,
Right.
one from Concord Street.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
probably like, so like Jody
Road.
Road, which is in Framingham, it's
Mhm.
probably like right when you get over the.
Yeah, I
line.
want to make sure I had the right
Bellevue.
subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
able
good to
answer
see,
that
like,
question.
see it
Do we
on
have
a map as to
I
where
was
it
gonna
is.
say, like, if.
Yeah, we'll
map
have,
for
we'll have a
town.
map,
Yeah.
and it'll be,
Okay.
Because you'll get
you know,
all
with
these
the clerk's
questions.
offices.
It's not, is it not abutting the current Bell property, right?
No,
So it probably is the Framingham end.
Yeah.
Because the other end is their property.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that.
Okay.
but, yeah.
Okay. So Article
We'll
5
thank them for
is
their gift.
accepting an easement at 107 High Street, and that is just to allow our DPW access on I think it's twice a year, to be able to mow the property the town-owned property behind those homes that we didn't otherwise have access to, so.
Known as Zero High Street. Actually,
That's funny.
And that's part of the property that was given to us through the UGC deal?
No.
Oh,
No.
No.
This was.
No, it's not near there, it's up the street.
Yeah, this is probably
Whittemore.
closer to the intersection with Whittemore and High Street.
Okay.
But it's a property that was gifted to the town, I believe, back in the 90s. I'll have to
80s or
check.
90s, yeah.
And as part of that gift, you know, one of the responsibilities of the town was to maintain that twice a year. So,
Okay.
so this helps facilitate that.
Article 6 is to authorize a home rule petition to increase the liquor license. As previously discussed, we're hoping to increase by 16 licenses for alcohol. So this would give the board the authority to move through that home rule petition process.
And this is just for on-premise, right? We decided not to look at
Oh, yeah, we never did, what did we do?
the off.
Yes, it says
Not retail.
on-premise
It was the
consumption, yeah.
on-premise.
Right,
So
I'm
this
just
is
verifying.
pouring
Right,
licenses.
no, that's good, yeah.
A no.
This is like restaurants.
Restaurant,
Right, yeah.
This is that big increase, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
This says select board, is it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
oh,
do you
I
have
was
a
just gonna
question?
say, like, I was just gonna ask, like, I assume there'll be a presentation kind of outlining, like, our rationale behind how we
Yeah.
got to that number
That's
and all
the
that stuff,
question, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
And who would, I guess, who would do that presentation? Is it
One
one of us,
would do
or
it.
is it Beth
Well,
or you?
I
or
think, I
what?
think you can certainly lead into it and, you know, talk about the rationale behind it and, you know, why you wanted to move forward with this, and then we could fill in the details as necessary.
Would it make sense to have Beth there? To
It's her
do,
deal,
because I mean,
right?
she's the
It's
one
her
who sort of
thing.
did the research to determine what would be good amount and,
She'll probably be there anyway, right?
I just think I think if I'm a resident and I'm looking at it and I'm saying 16 liquor
Yeah,
licenses,
exactly.
I think the gut reaction is, oh, God, like how, like what is, you know, so I think we need to be thoughtful on how we present it.
Yeah.
So I just, you know,
Yeah, we could do
I
a
don't mind,
short
I don't mind one of us doing it, but I
Right.
do think to Yolanda's
Turn it over
point,
to, yeah.
I think if there's like a formal presentation about it, I think that's probably the better route to go.
Yeah, or at least the backup that we saw with some sort of estimate of why this is good.
Yeah, I think if we presented something that talks about the amount of licenses we have left, which is not that many, the fact that this is not really an uncommon request for cities and towns nowadays, and then talk about how it impacts economic development.
With potential growth down the road.
Exactly. I think that would cover basically what you're
And the piece
thinking
about
we're
not
going to get
going
questions
back to
about.
the butt of the apple there.
Right.
Another bite, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
what's interesting is
Probably
Boston
ease-
is about to do the same thing to the
Because
state.
it is a significant increase, and
Yeah.
if I was sitting there, I'd be.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
well, that was
What's
my
going
reaction
on?
when I first saw it.
So-
What?
What are you people?
No blue laws in Ashland.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and I mean,
Right.
you know, the warrant is relatively light, you
Yeah.
know, and I think the only things that are really going to bring people to town meeting, like issues, are potentially this, and then people coming out for the CPC, for the dog
In
park.
support of, yeah.
So, but I could see people
Yeah,
not
having those
understanding
questions.
where.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And
So-
that's actually
Yeah.
already happened, Brandy, because I've had several businesses in town, liquor businesses, question, why do we need more?
Yeah, really.
Why do we need more?
Panic, yeah.
You know, so, but they
I've
don't
heard from
realize.
off-site sales,
Right,
not
right, and that's,
other
and that's what they need
restaurants.
to, that's
Yeah,
what they need to know.
offsite.
So they were a little confused themselves, so having a better description and understanding may, answer a lot of their questions and
Yeah.
ease their concerns, so.
But that were you thinking about having a forum for, not a forum, but an
Yeah,
info
we'll do our
session?
standard,
Yeah.
like info session.
Yeah, town
beforehand.
managers.
Yeah, okay.
Article 7 is a CPA funding to construct the dog park, so they voted to utilize $215,000 from their open space account. That would have to be expended by the end of June 2027 for that project.
So,
Yes, it'll have to be done before then, but, yeah.
so another thing we really need is we need a acceptable maintenance plan before
Okay.
this happens. I mean, I don't want to be like what is it, the skunk at the lawn party? Is that
That's
the
about right,
saying?
yeah.
But,
At the garden, party, I think.
yeah, we'll go garden party.
Yeah.
But we're still waiting.
Is it the dog park
Okay.
committee that's coming up with the maintenance plan? Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, they've sent us sort of a broad outline. I need to, but it's sort of, maybe they could fundraise for some of the materials, but much of the work would be, at least they're asking that it would be done by DPW. So I need a little bit more detail on what that actually is, so I just need that before town meeting. I think that's important.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's obviously a bigger lift than,
It's a lot of poop to scoop.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
And
I think they'd
mulch
be
to-
responsible for the inside, yes, like they'd have to be responsible for the inside.
I mean,
certainly.
the whole,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
well,
lots
that's
of it, yeah.
Dog, yeah, anyway, yep.
Article 8 is to extend the Riverwalk funding that has been previously authorized by town meeting, to extend it through December 31st, 2026. And that is it.
What's the remaining balance of those funds and
So
what
it's
still
right
needs to be
around,
done?
so there is, for the CPC funds, there is about 85,000 that's allocated for the Riverwalk. And that would be coupled with other funds that we have to do the second phase. So initially, we had hoped to either cross, initially we had hoped to cross at the VFW. Because of the floodplain change, that wasn't going to
Feasible,
work,
yep.
really feasible. We started to really look at making a crossing at Marathon Park. There's a pretty large wetland that'd have to have a boardwalk, which, when I got the last estimate, it was pretty substantial. So what this would be used for initially would be to bring back on an engineer, look at that possible, but then also, is there a possibility just to sort of go up Ponderosa and make a safe loop? Lots of people sort
Okay.
of loop, go for a walk and then loop into a sidewalk at least, or, loop into the bridge crossing.
Right, because there's the pedestrian bridge there, and then there's sidewalks. And
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd
and
want to
so
be
is
able to
there-
reach the station.
Right, safely.
Yeah.
So is there a way that we could potentially have a path that sort of skirts along the Ponderosa side of the river? And so that would be useful.
That would be nice. Do you anticipate making a presentation that includes that kind of information at town meeting? Or like what's,
I think it's just an extension,
Yeah, it's an
so.
extension.
so it's really a simple extension to finish what?
To finish
What-
the river walk.
The-
Like,
So
that
basically, it's
It was always
saying,
envisioned
we have
to-
$85,000
All right,
left,
so-
and
yeah.
it would go away unless we extend the allowance to use that money. So that's what that's all
Right,
this
so
is
that's all
doing.
it is. That's
Right.
why I was, but this other stuff you're talking about is really interesting. Is that part of, is that the next phase, or?
That would be the next phase.
Yeah.
This allows
This
us to
just-
access this money to do that next phase. But
Okay,
it-
so I think
without
you
this,
should
it
at
ends.
least think about talking, you or whoever's, laying out that kind of vision, like, yeah, we want to do, we're looking at a bridge, or we're looking at a connection.
So here's the concern, the more detail you put, then people will go, they're gonna have questions, and all this
Yeah,
is doing
right.
is saying, we have $85,000 left to do some work on this project, and all we're asking is for permission to not sunset those funds, but extend them
Yeah,
to
no, I
December
get it.
31st,
Well,
2026.
Yeah, all right. Well, I still think it's good to lay out the kind of vision to people and just say, this is you know, this is just what we're planning on doing, so, anyway. Okay, any other questions about the warrant?
No.
Are we ready to vote
Yep,
on
I
it?
move that we vote to approve, to close, sign, and post the special town meeting warrant for the meeting happening on November 28th, 2023.
29th, wasn't it?
Go ahead, you got it, Ms.
I'll second
29th,
that.
yes.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you. And we have the actual warrant to be signed here.
Yep.
Which actually, I'll just start that around. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discuss granting funds from the Selectmen's gift account for the employee recognition event held in December and discuss the date. Okay.
So yes, typically we do this in December. So just, you know, from a date perspective, start thinking about a date that would work for you then. This year, we're going to ask for $3,000 for both the food and the gifts associated with the recognition. Last year, it was about $2,800. So looking at just kind of some cost increases and the number of awards.
3K, yep.
3K would be sufficient.
So what date are you looking at? I know last year it was like the second Friday.
Susan, did you have a date in mind? We didn't have a chance to touch base on that.
Well, I would say either the 1st or the 8th. The 1st might be a challenge just because Thanksgiving runs so late in town meeting, so the 8th is probably likely a better date.
I would agree with that.
So we don't
So-
Wednesday,
No,
Yeah.
Friday.
the Friday. Oh,
So that might be tough, Susan, because we got our department head meeting on the 8th, and we're going to miss the November one.
Okay.
Um,
So we can push it, I wouldn't push it later than that. So we can do the 1st if you think that works best.
Could you move the department head meeting that Thursday, or no?
I could, yeah, you know what, we could look at moving that to the following Friday. Just need to
So we're going to do the employee recognition on December 8th. Perfect.
Oh, it is the 8th, okay.
I
And Is that
move-
noon? What's the
No,
time
it
on
typically starts at like 11.
11?
Yeah. I move that we approve a not-to-exceed amount of $3,000 from the Select Board gift account for the employee recognition event and holiday event on 12/8.
Motion's been made and seconded by Claudia. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so the next one is update on the comprehensive plan bus tour that took place, but also I would just add any other updates on the comprehensive plan that people care to make. So take it away.
Yeah, I can do the bus tour. So we, the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, or 18 of us, which actually wasn't a bad turnout considering the weather, went on a site visit, quote unquote, and essentially it was a town tour. First of all, I have to give thanks to Ed Berman for securing the bus and driving the bus. Kate Jerzik also made us little field trip goodie bags.
I saw that was in the picture. I was wondering.
But it was actually, I thought, really good. We went, we didn't get to spend a lot of time at every site, but the purpose was to really give people, especially those who aren't familiar yet with all of the projects and, you know, the history of the town and everything, it was to at least give them an idea of where things are and what they look like and what they are, and at least a little bit of the history behind the projects. And the feedback that I had received was that we accomplished that, and it was great. We had an opportunity for other steering committee members to, you know, provide input, so it wasn't just me talking the whole time, which is great. And I don't know, Brandy or Yolanda, if you wanted to add anything to that.
I unfortunately had to cut it short because I had to go get ready for the haunt, but I like the idea of it. I'm glad to see that it is up on the website so that if
Oh, yeah.
people want to go do the tour themselves, they can go do that. So I think, and as you said, I think for those people, for those committee members who are not as familiar with Ashland, it gave them a lot of good history and insight into our town.
And I would definitely agree. I think that it was, I mean, I learned things, and I feel like, you know, Yolanda and I are probably on we're more in the know from a lot of these projects than some other people, but the feedback that I heard was that people really appreciated the background because it gave everyone kind of like a baseline knowledge of what's happened in Ashland over the last, I mean, really since the last comprehensive plan, but the last 10, 15 years, even the history of Fafford development, and people hear the name Fafford, but they don't understand what that really translated into, and so it was a good few hours. We got out of the bus a few times. It was really cold.
Not a great day.
Cold and wet, but it was a good tour, and I think that it was well worth the time. And thank you for putting all that together because it was a lot of work. And then the notes that Yolanda talked about are up on the website, and also not only is it like the sites that we visited, but just some background on some of the things too, so people can basically get a little bit more background on things that we saw. So it was good.
Great.
I guess the only thing for me was I was sad that you did my side of town first, because I'm much more familiar with stuff there, and then you went to the other side, so I'm like,
I didn't think about that, Yolanda.
that's
Sorry.
okay. I was only one person, it didn't matter, but.
Oh, that's great. Good. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a couple of other updates, but I'll let the other members of the steering committee.
All right. Anything else? Anybody want to talk updates with the comprehensive plan? Things seem to be moving along pretty well, so. You got the, it's not a forum, what is it? The info session coming up?
It's a public forum, so it's a different kind of forum, so it's not a presentation, it's more like a pop-in, pop-out kind of.
Open house.
Okay,
Open house,
open
okay.
house. So I think it's 12 to, so it's on December 2nd from 12 to 4 on the lower level of Town Hall. And it's going to be, kind of people kind of understanding what the plan is going to be and providing some input and feedback. I know that the working group met, I think, yesterday.
Yes.
And kind of came up with sort of the umbrella of what this is going to look like, and it's our first real opportunity to ask for feedback from the public, and we encourage everyone. That's the same day as the holiday stroll. There's a lot going on that day, so as you're kind of in and out in Ashland, especially Town Hall, which is part of the stroll, come downstairs and provide your feedback for the comprehensive plan. And then, the only other thing that I have is that we had our last newsletter that went out yesterday. I would encourage folks to subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't already, but it's a good way to get information and kind of a summary of what's happening with the group. But things are moving along.
The consultant has the website up, so that was good to see, and they're also then meeting with people that they consider knowledgeable in certain areas. I know, Rob, you're going to be doing that. So, and I would say for the event on the 2nd, it's really a pop-in. There's going to be information, there's going to be members from the committee there telling you what you're looking at, and it's really, we're trying to get as feedback from as many residents as possible. You could spend 5 or 10 minutes there, or you could spend a half hour there. It's really your choice on the questions that you have and how detailed you want to get in responses. The consultant thought it was a great way to get people in. It's not your typical, what we've done in the past, right? You sit for a half hour or 45 minutes and then you interact. Certainly this time of year, to try to get people to commit to another hour and a half meeting, it's a lot.
That's good
So
thinking, yeah.
here,
Interesting.
they're hopefully coming into the building anyway to do some shopping or just to look. So there'll be signage, and there will be people around to encourage them to stop in downstairs as well. And if all they want to do is stop in, they can come in the back door and just go right down the stairs. So.
And I feel pretty confident that there will be activities for kids to participate. So I spoke with the president of the Moms Club today, and she was really excited about the possibility of partnering on this, and she just needs to meet with the full board.
Yep.
And other than that, I think things are going really well, actually, with the steering committee. I mean, it took us a couple meetings to kind of get our feet underneath us, and, there's still some outstanding things that we're working through. But, the last two meetings, I think, the energy and enthusiasm leaving those meetings has been exponentially more than what we had in the previous four. So
Right.
we're definitely going in the right direction. So.
Yep.
Great. Okay. If there's no other discussion there, we'll go on to the trails update. And I'd suggested we had a number of, two kind of meetings or events regarding trails this past week. And so, the Upper Charles Trail implementation meeting, and then the Metro West Trails Forum. So I'm going to turn that over to Yolanda to talk about the, what was it called? It was the
Metro West, well, it was sponsored by the Metro West Regional Collaborative and MAPC, and it's our annual Trails Forum.
Yeah.
So the
Very
excitement,
good.
it was held in Framingham, it was held at Loring Arena. If you have not been to Loring Arena in the last 5 years since they did the addition, you gotta go. They have this great space upstairs, so that's just one thing. What was nice was, so the Trails project, and I spoke about this at the meeting, a lot of it, there was the Upper Charles Trail that was being created, so Holliston was doing their part, Milford was doing their part. Even just before Ashland started doing this part, the Metro West Regional Collaborative brought a number of people, not only from our region, but from other regions, here to Ashland Town Hall. And we had people spread out and looking at maps and, okay, we have this trail and we have that trail, and how can we make connections and what connections need to be made. And the excitement and the palpable interest and enthusiasm from that meeting, and again, I want to say it was in 13 or 14, has carried through. We're now in 2023, and we've had a number of these forums. We've had them almost every year since 2017, except for COVID. And because of the work being done with David Lutzenheimer, who works for MAPC, and his landline project, it's one of the reasons that the north-south East Coast Greenway that's going to go all the way from Maine down to Florida is going to be coming through Framingham, Sherborne, Milford, and Holliston now, and they're going to be able to connect into Ashland and do our portion of the Upper Charles Trail. So it was great to hear the excitement and the discussion. So it's the timing for us to move our Upper Charles Trails project to a priority project, I think it worked really well. I think, it couldn't be a priority project as we did some of these other things. We've been moving it along slowly. Now it's a priority project for the town, and we're seeing this work in the Metro West area. So Framingham, Sherborne, Holliston, Ashland are working together to find the connection, to work with CSX to see how they can get into Sherborne and then connect into Ashland. And there is commitment from this Metro West organization to make on that Ashland's portion of the Upper Charles Trail is easy to get to. They're talking about what they call a roundabout. If you've ever been on the trail on Cape Cod,
Yeah, it's pretty
there's a couple
common,
of
yeah.
points where it's a circle and you can go in one of three directions. So that's the goal that's going to be happening here. I'm not sure if it'll actually be in Framingham or Sherborne, but there'll be a circle, and you'll be coming from Framingham, and you can either go into Ashland and continue that way, or you'll be able to go down into Sherborne and Holliston. Is it happening tomorrow? No. Is it going to hopefully happen in the next 5 years? That's the goal, but part of it will depend on the discussion and the negotiations between Framingham and CSX. But there's real excitement, and it used to be like really far down that we might see this, but the view of it is getting closer and closer, and the excitement in this forum was real, and people were excited, and there was so much discussion and what Framingham is working on already. So it's one of those projects that I keep telling people, we've only been working on our trail actively for about 8 or 9 years. It took Holliston 20 years to finish theirs, and they had an empty rail bed. And part of it was the negotiations with CSX. I think once we see Framingham, can make their discussion and purchase their portion, and now that we're actively looking at our trail, will it be all off-road? Maybe not, but as the saying goes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, or what they were saying at the meeting was that we're gonna make it past the goal, right? We're gonna make that touchdown, and it's a little bit closer, so.
Well, thank you, Yolanda.
You're welcome.
Yolanda, if I could just ask, so.
Sure.
So how do they help us? How does their support help make this happen?
So it helps with the conversation, because otherwise, Ashland would stop at the end of Ashland. And then now at least we know where our connection into Framingham is going to be, right? So at some point, Hopkinton is also being brought into the discussion. Okay, how are we going to connect to Hopkinton and their trail to then go down to Milford? So by having a regional discussion and by working with MAPC, who this particular gentleman, like, that's what he does, is he looks at trails and how he can make these connections. So I think that's where the help is.
Is there
And
financial assistance or anything along those lines?
well, there has been some, but also just guidance, right? They, through MAPC, they have a program called DLTA, where if you put in a certain amount of money, they potentially could put in a certain amount of money to help with stuff. They give guidance on writing grants, and okay, there's this, they remind you that, like, right now, there's a grant cycle open. We're not quite ready to apply for that, but just by having the advocacy of not just Ashland and Holliston and each community on their own, by having the combined advocacy of each town, as well as our regional collaborative, as well as MAPC, it can help this whole thing grow and eventually get accomplished.
And what, do they help, in terms of advocacy, do they help with, conversations with private property owners in town?
I don't think we'll use them for that. I don't think from that perspective. It's more advocacy in helping us get material, right? So when we start going to some of our private landowners, and the private landowners goes, well, I don't want that in my backyard.
Right.
We can reach out and say, okay, well, let's have you talk to someone in Holliston who had this and now has this in their backyard, and realizes
resources,
that your property value actually goes up if you have a trail accessible, because it now lets you go. You can walk out your backyard, hop on your bike,
Yeah.
and do a 30, long term, it'll be,
Yep.
you'll be able to do a 30-mile loop. Oh, and then you'll be able to go to Framingham,
Yeah.
which will then take you up to the Minuteman, which is in Lexington. Oh, and by the way, you can then take that all the way into Boston and all the way to Northampton.
And what does a trail actually look like in terms of to qualify as part of this trail? Does it have to be stone dust? Does it have to be?
It can be either, and you as a
Either,
community get to decide how you're gonna do. Holliston is stone dust.
Okay.
Because right now, have decided not to pave. Milford, if you ride Milford's
Yep, I've
trail,
been on both.
they are paved.
So it has to be one of those two things.
Well-
It's not just where I go out with my sickle and I say, okay.
Well, that's an interesting question, Claudia.
But it can start with that.
Yeah, we'll kind of, we'll get in, we're going to get into some of those in our own Upper Charles Trail, which we're going to talk about as well. But you're asking a lot of, I just wanted to, thank you for that presentation, Yolanda. The only thing I would just kind of add and summarize is that it was a great turnout from Ashland folks there. We had a number of members, and Beck, who was there? There was some
Becca and
staffers there.
Sophia, yep.
Were there, and of course, and Peter as
And
well.
our
Yeah,
Stephanie, our sustainability.
Sam.
that's right.
Sam.
yeah.
Samantha.
So we had like 3, 4 staff there.
Yep.
And it was really an energetic meeting, talk about this regional
Sure
trail.
there was food there, so.
There was food.
There was food, breakfast
Yeah,
and
it was,
lunch.
it was okay, yeah. But one thing I would add, just to kind of clarify, or not, but, so our section comes off the Dyke Trail, heads into Sherburne, and then that's where it runs into the CSX tracks, which is the key area to get control of. And I was happy to see there was a lot of support and acknowledgement and understanding of Ashland's position in this as part of that. So that was you know, it was all good news. It was a lot of great stuff going on.
That
Joe,
was
did
one,
you-
that was one of your concerns in the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah.
That Ashland was gonna be kept out
Right,
of that whole
right.
conversation, which
Yeah.
was the reason why we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
Exactly.
Ashland had a voice in this whole discussion, so we wouldn't be left out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good all around, and, you know, kudos to Yolanda and the other folks there that have been working on this for years. And the other thing I got out of it, and it's really relevant to us, is what Lautenheiser said, and Yolanda spoke a little bit to that, is like, you know, get a trail doing something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do what you can, improve it later, but let's get a connection going that shows people what can happen. And that's really very relevant to our concerns and what we're trying to do, because, you know, we don't have a rail bed. So that's always been our big challenge. So, and the other part that I kind of lumped in with this, we had, you know, as I think you remember, that we formed the Upper Charles Implementation Team, which consists of Peter, Michael, myself, Tony, Joel, Alvaro, and Jen. So we've met, I think, twice. Have we met?
We've met twice.
Twice, yeah. And so we had an interesting meeting last week, Michael, so I'll let you kind of start it off and summarize what you got out of that.
Yeah, so what we've chosen to focus on first are the properties that are owned and or controlled by Ashland that are on the route, and to do a deep dive into those and to see if there are any prohibitions or any obstacles that we need to figure out.
Meaning restrictions or anything like that.
deed,
Yeah.
deed restrictions. And we actually turned up one right now, which is that High Street one that we talked about the easement on when we were having the discussion about the warrant. So we can't put a trail there. So we have to, you know, fortunately that's not going to put too big a hiccup in the whole trail, but we're doing a little bit more of a deeper dive into those properties. Similarly, Tony and Rob both went to the school committee. It had basically a re-kickstart.
And Judy went as well.
And Judy went as well. So, and had a good discussion with them. And I think Paul Kendall is going to, you know, now that he has all this free time on his hands, is now going.
Well, they actually had a site walk.
Yep.
That's what Joel presented, you know, which is actually, just, sorry to interrupt, but just they had a site walk with Paul and the members of the subcommittee, and they actually kind of mapped out a rough route from to get across the high school and onto
Property.
so which seemed to be plausible and agreeable, and you know, Paul thought that the school committee would support that particular route, which I can
great.
talk about if people are interested. But it basically, you know, coming into the high school property somewhere near the cemetery property near the softball field, and as you face the high school, going around to the right on the ridge of rock above, and then somehow getting over the Devil's Den area, and then to the right of and continuing to the right near the baseball backstop, but separated from the baseball backstop, and then getting onto the power line right away, and thence to Cedar Street. So that's, and there was kind of an agreement that there's some issues there that need to be dealt with, but it seems like a plausible route through the high school, and seemed like, you know, students could use it and they could get to the high school. So anyway, so I interrupted. But
No, I
that
was
that little aside about the school committee. So.
Well, and I think the one thing I was going to mention after that was that one of our next steps is to have a site walk, especially along the cemetery site, because that's, obviously that's going to be a sensitive topic, and just kind of getting our ducks in a row with that.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing I would add is that certainly it wasn't discussed at this last forum, but DCR is supportive, and DCR is looking to work with us to help create our trail through the state park section. So
Good point. Yeah.
in both Ashland and Hopkinton State Park, because it's going to be, that's how we're connecting, or as of right now, that's how we're connecting to Hopkinton section of the Upper Charles Trail, is through the Hopkinton State Park.
And just to add, Rob, you talked about, how there's comments that we should, make sure we get a trail built, even though it wouldn't necessarily be perfect or the ideal trail. But that also reminds me, the engineering for the 135 sidewalks include space for a 4-foot bike lane. So
That's exciting. That's good.
you know,
Because I think ideally, what we would want to do is if you're on Route 135 in Framingham, they have sidewalks and a bike lane, and then it stops when you hit Ashland. I think at some point, as we're looking at our street plans, we should do the same thing for all of 135, from our border to the Hopkinton border. So,
yeah. So we're going to have, like, at least the on-road stuff, we're going to have bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So, for example, eventually, there will be a bike lane painted on Summer Street. We've got bike lanes on Front and Sharrows, which I know are certainly not ideal, on Main Street. But we'll start
Yeah.
eventually connecting them and putting them together. But if we can start laying the groundwork now, as we're
Right.
doing road work,
yep,
Yeah.
can make a
That's
difference.
important. That's exciting.
complete streets.
And I don't know, one of the things that we did talk about at the meeting that's probably worth sharing, I think, was, going back to your issue with the High Street lot. At one point, the route, if you probably, hard to remember, but going off High Street onto the town land and thence, to the Boy Scout, the Big Indian trustees, and then Hopkins Park. There's a number of issues with that route. I mean, Big Indian access was one of the issues, but there's a number of others. Essentially, the town land has a lot of restrictions on it. So right now, in terms of, we're looking at going down, from High Street going down, what is it? Whittemore. Thence to, is it Howe Street then, at the end of Whittemore, or?
You hit,
Yeah, so that's how to get to the high school. That's an on-road bike trail. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. So, because the other one's really, I mean, that's the ideal route, but there's a number of issues. So that goes to, it's an on-road trail. So that's the
Which-
latest
Right.
thinking.
Which, you go on the bike trail on the Cape, and you have that, I think, heading into, I forget which community, but the trail ends and you're in a neighborhood. And you follow that around, you go up over a bridge, and then eventually you get to the trail again. So I think people are used to that if you don't have an empty rail bed, so.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of that's the latest thinking. So I thought I'd
Okay.
share that with people.
Thank you.
Anything else we should talk about?
No,
We're going
I
to
think-
schedule another meeting to continue the
Another
process.
implementation
And
team, yep.
The other thing, there is a number of funding available. We've identified, just to remind folks, because I forget myself, that we have identified various sources of funding for the trail engineering next. So I think and that's in Mike's spreadsheet. Okay.
We've got all these agencies that aren't excited for us, don't have money to offer us, right? A
That's-
lot of people excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in
How is
a
it?
unique time that we do have the funding, so a lot of it's just the
Right,
procedural
we
stuff.
have some funding here in town, but I
Yeah.
think the other thing is, it's not gonna be just this year. I think it's one of those things that trails has become something that people realize is a good thing for sustainability and getting cars off the road and getting people moving and active. So it's not just gonna be a year or two. I think it's gonna be multiple years that we're gonna see this funding, that we can then, once we're in a better place, we can apply for some more of the grants that would help us do more of the work.
And
And we can also, depending on when we think we need specific funds and what it looks like, I know that our legislative delegation reaches out to us, asking us if there's any projects and things that we are looking for
Right.
funding for, and I know Representative Lewis has been a big supporter of
Yeah,
trails for
absolutely.
us, and
yeah,
so,
Senator Spilk as well.
yeah, so I think that's another avenue as we kind of get moving through this.
The other thing is we're looking at putting this on the tip. So, and tip funding for trails is huge. I mean, if you look at what they did in Natick and Framingham, the railroad bridge that goes over
Did
Route 9.
they did that?
That
and-
was tip.
Oh, wow,
That was
okay.
Transportation
Really expensive,
Infrastructure
yeah.
Program
Wow,
funding.
okay.
Yeah, that was millions of
How-
dollars.
So I know when we did the 126 project, the tip was it was a long time, time horizon for that. Is that the same for something that's a trail project, or is it a little bit different?
It depends on what they have. So sometimes what happens with the TIP program, and I won't go into a lot of details, is they have projects planned, and then either because something's not available, they might push it out, and then they have money available to say, oh, okay, we have an extra $5 million. oh, here's this program that's currently on a back year, but their engineering is done, they have all the land, and they're ready to move forward.
Yeah.
And they could pull it in. So that's where we need to get to, is have all the land lined up, have our engineering done for the whole route.
Yeah.
Go for the tip funding, and then keep
Yeah.
advocating for it and saying, okay, we're here, oh, look, bring it. So,
Yeah. And that might be another area where, like, MAPC and the regional collaborative might be able to help with the
Yes.
advocacy
Oh,
portion of
definitely.
it, because.
Definitely.
they may
we
be able
support
to,
each
yeah.
other. We support each other on tip
So,
projects.
but anyway,
And
that's
our
a whole nother,
legislative
I don't want to get.
And our
delegation.
legislative
Yeah, plays a big
delegation as
role.
well, so.
Big
Yeah.
role in that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So
Okay,
that's
thank you,
Great
guys.
stuff.
Yeah, that's exciting, and we're moving ahead, so that's great. So the next is the consent agenda. I do want to pull a few things. I think, the sessions, I did ask Susan for a correction to the minutes, and also, I do want to note that Tim Henderson, who's item G, is actually here physically, so I'd like to pull him from the consent agenda. Is there
Anything
any
else?
other items?
Nope.
No.
I move that we approve the consent agenda minus items A and item G.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Others opposed? None. The consent agenda is accepted, with the exception of items of A and G. Okay, so item A is just a quick, I don't know, Susan, if you have it, or should I read I just asked for one correction to my statement on Israel, which was just to clarify. It originally said something that Scheer added his own statement. He hopes that people in Israel and U.S. leaders use their power and wisdom when it comes to civilians in Palestine. I corrected that to, he hopes that Israel and U.S. leaders use their power wisely when it comes to civilians in Palestine. So that's the one correction I would ask to make. So, all in
So motion to accept the regular session minutes from October 18th, 2023, with the revision that Rob has mentioned.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Minutes are accepted. Thank you. And now, item G, I will, at their last meeting, the Ashland Upper Charles Trail Committee did vote to recommend Mr. Henderson be appointed to the committee. There is a vacancy, and I think, so he's here tonight, and he wanted to come, so I said, let's chat with Tim and talk about the trail. So, Tim, why don't you come up? Yeah, come on up and speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you. So, I don't know if you just want to tell us a little bit about, your background and relevant to the trail and why you want to be on the Ashland Upper Charles Trail.
Sure. I'm Tim Henderson. I live on Woodridge Lane, and I've lived in Ashland for 36 years. And I've biked in my whole life, but I've been a very active biker since the pandemic, really. Once I was, couldn't go anywhere, I bought a bike and started riding a lot. We were in Seattle, Washington at the time, but when we came back here, it was interesting to learn my way around, how to get around Ashland, because as we've discussed here, there isn't an easy way to get, you're on the roads most of the time, and I got to explore the trails all over, this area, and was encouraged to, get involved with the Upper Charles Trail Committee, because seeing what the trail does in the other towns, and to see if Ashland if I can help any way to, be part of that and make that be a real thing, that would be great. My background is, my education is actually civil engineering, but I spent 40 years as an aerospace engineer, and I'm recently retired, so I have lots of time to help if I can with any of this. So, thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to this.
Yeah. Questions, thoughts, comments? Go ahead. Randy?
That end,
Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you very much for wanting to be a part of this. I think that you're wanting to join at a really good time. Obviously, we were just having a good discussion as sort of where the trajectory is going. So I just wanted to say thank you for stepping up and being an official member of the Upper Charles Trail, and it's a good group of people, so.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, you know, I live across the street from Joel, so that's what.
So you've been living the trail vicariously through Joel.
Right, and I
Yes.
ride with the bike club, and so that's it. I've got, I know Joel, I've known Joel since they built the house, so,
Okay.
that's it, so.
Okay,
But,
great. Well, thank
Great.
you.
Thank
That's
you.
it for me.
Other questions or comments, any thoughts?
No, I do just say thank you very much. I have known the Hendersons for quite a few years through their children and that. And,
yes,
Yeah.
So, appreciate your stepping up. We find things to do in retirement, don't we?
that's right. It's always something to do. People ask me, what do you do? It's like, I got a million things to do. I don't have enough time to be retired, so,
There you go.
Thanks a lot, Ted.
All right,
Appreciate
thank you.
stepping up and doing what you want to do,
thank you.
that you'd like to do.
I'm gonna say, this will be fun, so.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I would just like to add, I think it's great that you're stepping up, and I think I was just in your house
You
the
were,
other
you
day.
were,
Okay.
you were at the.
I'm like,
I wanted to
wait a
make sure
second.
you'd made that connection, so.
Well, I remember the last name. Well,
I gotta
I
hear
didn't go
this.
to see.
around with
I
Yolanda more.
didn't go to see Tim. I went to see his wife, and as many
has
of
a
you
different
know,
name, so,
they have
you
a
know.
different last name.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
anyway,
Yeah,
by the
that's
way,
all.
I loved your skeleton in the yard.
Well, now that Halloween's over, the Santa hat's going on
Oh, there you
tomorrow,
go.
so,
There you go.
that-
But I just want to say thank you for stepping up. I think your experience and certainly now your enthusiasm for bike riding will certainly
It should be
help.
fun. I enjoy, viewing from afar the various other projects around town, so that's it, is that we really start working on the trail here. This should be great.
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 I look
Well, I
forward to it.
move that we appoint Timothy Henderson to the Upper Charles Trail Committee with a term that expires on 8/31/26.
Second.
The motion's been made and second. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Henderson, to the Upper Charles Trail Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. You are appointed, sir. Good
Thank you
luck.
very
And
much.
thank you for
Congratulations.
volunteering.
Great, and thanks for coming in. All right. So the next item on the agenda is Town Manager Report.
So I can start off with the legislative meeting, or our quarterly legislative meeting that we held last Friday. And both Yolanda and Rob attended, as well as myself and Diane from the town of Ashland. We met with Jack and Karen Edelman Foster. And we were able to discuss quite a few issues. Rob had brought up the MBTA community zoning. And we talked about the MBTA station. We talked about some of our frustrations with Eversource and other utility companies. And as we all know, we're not the only community that deals with Eversource. Specifically, we were talking about the downtown project and how Eversource is now saying they don't have transformers, which, might push, basically the removal of the poles out a bit. So, and Karen's already secured a meeting with Eversource for next Monday.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
virtual one. So it'll be good
Was
to.
this a surprise to them that they were moving?
Well, that was exactly my point, Joe. I'm like, you've known about this for years. So, but anyway, I thought it was a very, very productive meeting, and I'm glad we're still continuing to do those. So.
The one thing I'd brought up that the zoning, if it's realistic to tweak the zoning act, this specifically the formula that gave us the 1,100 housing units that needed, or whatever it is, 1,200, whatever it is, based on our housing, which again, just to review, I said, it seems to be unfair because we built a lot of housing that we now have to build more, whereas towns that didn't build housing have a lower. Anyway, so the whole idea was that we could tweak that, and Karen was optimistic about arranging a meeting with, actually she mentioned Ed Augustus, who's the current Secretary of the Executive Office of Livable Communities, and so she's going to arrange a meeting just to have a discussion, at least with me and maybe, I don't know, Michael, to talk about the details and what's behind those details, so we could understand, and see if there's any room for adjusting that or changing it. And then, Michael, you brought up the prohibition on town land being part of the formula,
Yes.
and I don't know if we had any more resolution on that.
No, I did. So, what Rob is referring to is that I talked to Pete Matchak last week, and he said that municipally owned land is now exempted from being able to be counted towards our acreage. And so I checked with him this week, and that is correct. And then I went through and I looked at the guidelines, and it's it does appear to be the case. So to the extent that we were going to use municipal land to help meet our acreage obligations, that could be in jeopardy. The other thing we talked about it was actually related to the bond bill, the housing bond bill, was accessory dwelling units. And just, some ambiguity regarding that and what's in the bond bill. And just, so we'll be looking to get some clarification on that as more information comes out.
So with ADUs, because I know we've talked about it, here, and then I know that there was talk about bringing it to town meeting in a zoning change in general with ADUs. Like, is that, do we know how that would impact what we would be wanting to? I haven't had a chance to
Well, this
read.
would basically, the state would mandate that towns would have to basically zone so ADUs could be built as of right. As of right.
In
Oh.
the housing bond bill, ADUs would be mandatory.
Good point.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's a big change. That's a,
So we raised, actually, Michael and I think
it's
Yolanda
being
raised
discussed
that
and
point
reviewed, but
about, yeah.
So,
Okay.
And there are definitely going to be 3 versions of this bond bill that floats around. So
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
interesting.
see how the Senate and the House come up with theirs.
No need to changing their thinking, their mindset, that's sure.
well, I know, I'm sure that their thinking is that, they want to create housing, and an ADU is an easy way to do it. It just may or may not have unintended consequences if we don't control sort of how that approval goes through.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
So, but anyway,
Maybe
I haven't
that's-
had a chance to
Yeah.
take a look at it yet, so.
Your Framingham is.
it's 100-some-odd page bond bill.
Then, yeah.
Search, Control F.
I have a summary that was given to me from, or at least some of the high points, because I'm on an MMA policy committee. I'll scan that and send it out to everybody so you guys can get a look at that.
That would be awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we did, yeah, Yolanda, you weren't here for the beginning. Is there anything you want to add to this discussion that maybe, Michael, we talked about the
Oh, from the
zoning
legislative
changes,
meeting?
Yeah.
No, it's a-
But, yeah, there was a lot of good points about the bond bill and the MBTA Communities Act. Any other, did we talk about other funding or other issue? Didn't really, not so much,
We talked
I
about
guess.
the earmarks, and
Yeah.
just, it was really more administrative, like making sure.
That's
that we
right,
have
yeah.
access to them, everything's, and that's all good.
Yeah. So, so we'll continue that discussion. I guess we're still optimistic about being able to implement the zoning act pretty much as is, but we'll hear more about that, I think, at our next meeting, right? That's my understanding, Joe. You think,
Yeah,
you guys?
Friday, but I was gonna bring that in my board report.
Yeah, sure. Well, we could talk about it now if you want, or for you, in your board
Well,
report, whatever.
I'm kind of,
Sorry, I'm kind of surprised to hear about, the land issue,
Land exempt.
because that definitely changes the whole thought process right now,
Yeah.
especially in and around the area that we're looking at.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see what happens Friday morning.
Yeah, so it'll be
Be good.
interesting discussion, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me ask a question. I don't want to get too off topic, but just kind of
Sure.
related to that. So if we were to rezone the RTA, the
Transit
RTD,
District?
sorry.
Yeah.
Where we have land that's going to be coming back to the town, but it isn't, it's still in litigation?
Huh.
Like, how does?
Which, is that the
You're talking about
UGC?
UGC,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious, like.
That's an interesting, maybe we don't bring it up and. Yeah.
Maybe
It's an
we
interesting
zone
one.
and then
Yeah, it's not our land.
it's not our land yet.
That's right.
I don't know, I'm just.
Yeah, we actually could look at the UGC property and even the property that wouldn't be coming back to the town.
Yeah.
And look at rezoning that.
Okay, I was just curious. I don't want to get us off topic.
No, but that's a good,
but-
we were gonna discuss it one way or the other, I think. so.
So you're more than welcome to come Friday.
Nope, I'm
Friday,
good. You've got this handled.
Yeah.
There you go.
You got it handled, my friend.
Yeah.
All right,
No
so,
problem.
yeah, that was a
Yeah,
good,
that was
good
it.
meeting. I think we got a great legislative delegation. There's a lot going on. Anybody want anything else to add to that one?
No?
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
No, just the next item on the agenda is an update on crime trends or security issues. And Ashland is still a pretty safe community, or it's still a very safe community. I shouldn't say pretty. That's where you got to be careful. You got to choose your words carefully.
Right.
There has been, though, in Massachusetts, a rash of burglaries on in South Asian households, and Indian, Sri Lankan, from that ethnicities from that part of the globe, and so obviously they constitute like 15, maybe a little bit more, 15% or more of our population.
Oh, really?
So it's something that we're keeping an eye on. So there's that's really it on that issue.
Could I just, I brought this up because I read the Ashland Police Department's Facebook posting about home security, and which I thought was excellent. And I said, oh, okay, so is there something going on? And so I said, let's discuss it. And so Michael's just clarifying, this is a general kind of advisory about, and it was related to the South Asian incident where people were being burglarized, so. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, and I just want to make it clear, so we haven't had any issues here in Ashland. I just, so I want people who are watching to know that they're safe. It's just something that we're keeping an eye on. And I should also mention under this that, I don't have the hard statistics with me right now, but we are seeing an increase in traffic stops, and, hopefully we'll see a corresponding impact in terms of speeding and things of that nature as well.
That's interesting, because that is a recurring issue.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Good.
So, update on the annual town
Can I
forest.
just let me intro just briefly.
Sure.
I mean, just, we had, the Town Forest Committee hosted, I think was fairly prominent, and I'm not up on all the details, but it seemed like a fairly prominent and important event that DCR does, this Town Forest. And we hosted it this year, and Michael attended. Would anyone else attend? So Claudia was there as well. Great. So I'll turn it over to you guys to just chat about it.
Yeah, I thought, so it is a relatively, it's a statewide conference put on by the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and this was the first year that they had it in person since the pandemic, so it was even more special. And we had over 100 people at the community center from as far away as Pittsfield and on the Cape. Don't think I met, and I met some people from northeastern Massachusetts as well. But it was a great conference that, the beginning of the day was focused on presentations and learning and educational sessions, of which 2 Ashland residents presented, Kara Hume and also Jennifer Shacken, who is part of the New England Forestry Foundation. Jennifer gave a great presentation on climate change and the impacts on the forest, and
Cool.
Kara did one on basically a roundtable with some of the Girl Scouts and some of the teenagers in town about forest as community. So they did a great job, and just give kudos to the Town Forest Committee for basically being selected to host this event, and
Very
then also
energetic.
doing all the work that they did to put it on, put it together. That was the morning session. The afternoon session consisted of site walks in the town forest, 3 different ones, and of course it poured. But still, there were quite a few people that took advantage of those. So it was great. The Town Forest Committee and the town, by extension, should be really proud of that and the work that they're doing.
That's certainly great. Claudia, anything you wanted to add to that? You went to.
Yeah, no, it was actually, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wasn't able to stay all day because we actually had a wedding in the afternoon when it was pouring, but
Twofer.
it was very informative and, very interesting, and it was nice to have Ashland people presenting, and Michael was the MC host, and he did a spectacular job, so.
Oh,
Thanks.
great.
I'm always amazed at your talents.
Was he juggling or anything like that?
Yeah.
It's just a little
Just
brief
into it. Great.
presentation. Yeah.
So that's nice.
So, no, not for that one. And then I actually have one thing
Oh,
that's
that's right.
not on the agenda. And Susan, myself, and several of our department heads met with the Boston Athletic Association yesterday to talk about next year's marathon. And, something that's always a recurring ask is if we can get more bibs to distribute to runners to fundraise for our programs, and if we could get more money to help support our operations as part of the marathon. And so the BAA has increased the number of bibs to 25, so an increase of 3. And they are also increasing our funding by 10% to $80,000 with a commitment to increase that by 2.5% each of the following 2 years. So many thanks to the BAA for that. They've got a whole new team, obviously, since Jack has taken over as president. And
Their sponsor now is different.
Did we have prior to the?
22.
22?
So we'll continue with the 12 for the company, and then
You mean Nord?
Nord, yep.
They get 12.
And then we'll do the other ones.
got two
more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Susan, how does that strike you in terms of, I know there's been some issues, or I guess that's my question. Do you see issues with getting folks for all those bibs, or that will commit to the fundraising, or
We've got a waiting list.
do you?
We have a waiting list, and I actually sent out, in anticipation of this conversation coming up, I did send out first 3 people on the wait list tonight. I'm just awaiting hearing
Cool.
back.
And
That's
are
great.
they all town residents, or did you go outside of, are there out-of-town I'm asking because the running club is interested, but a lot of them live outside of town. Is there any out-of-towners getting bibs, or?
No out-of-towners, only because we had about 60 people, including out-of-town people this year, put in
Wow.
requests.
Wow.
Wow.
Did you say 60, 60?
60.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And everybody, so it's all town residents that are getting bibs, it sounds like.
I think preference goes to town
Yes.
residents if there's
Residents
if
or
there's not a
employees.
yeah.
That's why it's,
So I guess that because we've talked about how we distribute bibs and that whole thing, and
yeah.
I know that there have been years where we've struggled to get people to run, but
60.
it sounds like maybe we need to look at it next year and see if
Increase the
we
amount.
and possibly do more and
Oh, you want more
residents.
from those runners.
Well, more so, we do this the amount of bibs to Nord, which I think is great.
Yeah, maybe we
And
should look at that.
maybe we need to just look at that.
Yeah.
So, but
Gotcha.
I mean, I think it's awesome.
That's
First of all,
great.
I think it's amazing that 60 people want to run on behalf of Ashland,
Well,
and
the Boston Marathon is so popular.
it is. Well, it's one of the premier marathons,
Yeah.
and for us to
Have
I
this,
mean,
yeah.
I think most charities that ask people to raise funds are a lot higher than what we ask
Yeah, we're
Ashland.
asking
The average is
3,000.
12,000.
Yeah,
So-
we're asking three,
so-
right?
That's why I think next year we need to look at, I think we need to talk to Nord beforehand and say we're going to increase that, and I think we need to ask our runners to raise a little more. Not a lot, maybe
Yeah.
it's, another 500 or 1,000, but
Something like that, something reasonable.
something to think about.
Yeah,
That
but it's
was an
also
interesting statistic.
But it'll be 9,000 more that will be into the
Right,
into
great.
the
Exactly.
runner's account from these
But
extra
we've
bibs
also,
too.
but we're also increasing the amount that we want to give
Sure.
people, so.
Yeah. So
Cool.
very cool.
All right. Anything else, Michael, on your
No,
update?
that's it.
All
That's
right.
all I have. Thank
That
you.
brings us to board reports. We can, Brandy, you're on the end this time, so we'll start with you.
Oh, my goodness. So I
Yeah.
really don't have much, except for, we've been really busy with the comprehensive plan. We had our last newsletter go out yesterday, and that is kind of like, I am the main conduit with the newsletter, which I totally love to do. So it's totally in my wheelhouse. So I guess until somebody else decides they want to do it, I'm the volunteer.
Thank you for doing it.
Great.
It looks like you're gonna be doing for a while.
I think I'm going to be doing it for a while.
The
So
newsletter.
I
Nicely
don't see
done.
anybody else.
You got about a year and a half, so
Yeah,
you're good.
We're good. Once a month I can handle.
So, that's interesting. So, but Melissa's not involved in that, is communications,
So,
or?
my process is that, we really start the newsletter process after our monthly
Meeting.
meetings. And it kind of is like a recap, plus other things that we want to make sure we communicate out to the public. I have, like, I've worked in Constant Contact before, which is our
So using that.
email service, or however we want to call it. So I put together I send out to the chairs, basically like my bullet list of things that I have, to see if there's anything else that they want to include. And then I work in Constant Contact and put it together, and then I send it out for a draft for folks to review. And then Melissa and Beth are the ones to do the actual, like, sending it out.
Who are you sending the draft to?
The draft goes to Beth, Melissa, Michael, and Courtney. And Courtney was like my partner on this. So basically gives everyone a couple days to review it, to see if there's any changes or anything else people want to add, and then we send it out. So it's a good little process. So yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for doing that.
But yeah, our next meeting for the comprehensive plan is November 16th, as we were talking about, and then we're just preparing for, like, the forum, and you know, that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much all I got. So
That's enough.
Yeah.
All right, Claudia, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, last week I had the fun time to be able to attend the trick or treat here at Town Hall.
Oh, that too.
And
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah. It was fun.
it was great. It was fun to see everybody all decked out, and a ton of people, right, that came through. I couldn't get over the number of people out on the street.
300.
Heard you ran out of candy.
Yeah,
We had to make several candy runs.
yeah, so.
That's interesting.
That was awesome. Well, you know, what a great way to get people into Town Hall and to get a little bit of, you know, feel like it's theirs, right? So that was really great.
And then the other businesses that also participated
Yes,
for the
yep.
first time this year, which was
Was
which
that
was
the
good.
first time? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and everyone in Town Hall dressed up.
Yeah.
It was
They were all
festive.
dressed up, right?
Everybody, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, there
I
were
missed
some,
it.
I took
Yeah.
some fun pictures. Yeah, then I had the opportunity to attend the ABA dinner or
comedy.
comedy night on Saturday night.
Saturday,
It was
that's
pretty
right.
funny.
Oh, that's good.
They really were a pretty funny group, I thought.
And
Mike.
Corey's an Ashland resident.
Yes, he is.
Corey
Yes, yep.
Rodriguez lives here in town.
Yep, no, I do. I know him a little bit, and
Oh, that's cool.
he brought on like 4 other people.
Yeah, 3, 4.
So-
Now, that's kind of a tradition with the ABA, right?
Yeah,
They
this
do
is, I
that?
think, they did it twice. Yeah, this is, I think, their third year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's at
this
least
might be the
third.
first time in person.
Um,
Did they do it in person
Yeah.
last year? Okay.
And I think there were 2 COVID ones, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like I did that virtually a couple of times.
I know I
which
did the
was-
first. Yeah,
So
I
is this a
think
fundraiser for them, or what?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's good.
For the scholarship committee.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
it was a lot of fun. Like
That's
I said,
good.
they did a great job. Last week, I also had the opportunity to attend at the State House, the Citizens Legislative Seminar, and, you know, that was fun. The drive-in was pretty nasty. It took me about 2 hours and 10 minutes to
Yoink.
go. Took me an hour to get to the other side of Natick.
Oh, my gosh.
Why
and
was
then,
that? Was something going on?
I don't know.
What time of day were you trying to go in?
Oh, it was peak.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be there at, I
You
think
know-
if I wanted to go to Karen's office first, I had to go for 9 o'clock, so that's what I was aiming
Oh, okay.
for. But, yeah, so I knew it
That's
was
when
a
you
bad
take
time.
the train in.
Train.
I looked at the train and I
It's
was
not
like,
that, yeah, because you gotta
the
take the
train
red
is,
line, or, you know,
and I've
it's not-
actually commuted in there for a short time when I worked for Tom, and,
Yeah,
so it was, but in any case,
it's not great
once
from
I get in
South
there,
Station.
took a deep breath. It was great. It was a great day, and then and Karen gave us a little extra special treatment. Anybody from her district, so
Nice.
Nice.
so that was fun. So it you know, it was informative too. And then, oh, geez. Nope. And the last thing I had was just the town forest. That
Great.
meeting for the state, which was, it really was very nice.
That's
a real
great.
feather in our cap, I thought.
Cool.
Very nice.
Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick things. Last Thursday was our annual Halloween parade and party. We had roughly 300 families show up. It was the first time at the new school, and it was quite the experience. Told everybody they made history coming into this building, but for the first time. It was a great experience, and the design of that building made it a lot easier for us to do. Oh my word!
Oh, yeah. I
I'll
can
tell
just
you, it was
imagine.
phenomenal. And who met us there was Deputy Dodd with his big sheriff hat, Sheriff Paul. He was there, and thanks to him, I mean, he just handed me a mic, and everything was already ready to roll. Wireless mic, the PA system was already built into this.
It's
what a
really nice
I'll
facility.
tell
Be
you,
wanting to
it's-
hold meetings
it's-
there.
You know, it was very, very nice, and I thank Paul and everybody that was involved, and Claudia for getting this done for us. It was very, very nice. We had a lot of fun, and everybody was there that enjoyed it. And for the families that hadn't been in the building for the first time, their eyes were wide open. They were very, very appreciative of what the new school looks like, and they can't wait to have their kids go in that building, which is great. So thank you to all those folks who made it a great night. And this Friday, we have the MBTA zoning meeting. That ought to be an interesting meeting and discussion after hearing all this new information coming up. I have no idea where we're gonna go. Looks like we're gonna have to start from ground zero and start all over again if in fact we can't utilize, the town land type of thing, so,
Hopefully not.
yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that the state did send out all these guidelines, right? Didn't they help set things up and say what land you could use? And,
Well, it was very,
And
it
it's
was
been
very
fluid.
vague, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was very vague, so, I mean, we did what we thought we had to do, and I guess my thought is just to continue doing what we're doing, so that way if they allow that to happen, we'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
So, that and,
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Joe.
oh, no, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing how we can try to skin a cat in different ways and, make it happen for the town. So we're working on it. Lastly, we have a Affordable Housing Trust meeting next week. We had some glitches at Zoom, so we couldn't meet the prior meeting. So we have a lot to discuss and a lot of things to do. So hopefully we can utilize that and maybe get things working on some properties that we have and we're taking over. So, and one of them is a piece of property off of Raymond Marquetti Way in Galani Drive, that area. That house needs to be, I feel bad for the folks that reside around it, to be very honest with you. But anyway, we're working on it. We'll get that done. And happy belated birthday there, young lady. So with that, that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Yolanda?
So a couple things. First, tomorrow morning is the Ashland Lions Senior Breakfast. I'll be there this time. I missed it last time because I was away. Couple things coming up. So the Metro West Regional Collaborative, we have a meeting. It will be the Thursday morning after town meeting. It's via Zoom, and our discussion is going to be MBTA Communities Act and the Housing Bond Bill. So I look forward to hearing what our subcommittee presents on that Wednesday. And if other people are interested, the discussion is going to be, what are the different communities doing? How are they doing it? And has somebody done something that we can then use?
Okay.
So that's the discussion there. Of course, we talked about the holiday stroll as part of the comprehensive
Sorry,
plan.
what's the date on that,
It
Yolanda?
is Thursday, November 30th. I mean, I know we have another meeting, but I figure it's good to get it on
Yeah,
people's
sure,
calendars.
sure.
Holiday stroll, and then, again, this is a little bit early, but the Lions will be selling their Christmas trees. They start the Friday after Thanksgiving, and they will be on Front Street this year rather than over in back of the VFW. And then the last thing is, I missed the town hall trick-or-treating. I missed the trick-or-treating, but that's because I was at the Haunt. If you came to visit the Haunt, which was the Halloween scare that was done at the Metro West Outdoor YMCA, if you came by, and if you couldn't figure out who I was Yvette Simpson, the first person you talked to as you walked through the Haunt.
isn't that
So
something?
it was a lot of fun. Friday and Saturday night were great. Sunday, not so much.
They made up for it.
But it was a lot of fun, and it's nice. It's benefiting both the Hopkinton Center for the Arts and the Metro West YMCA. And that's all I got.
Great, thanks, Yolanda. I just wanted to maybe just review a few scheduling things as part of this, I mean, or just talk about next meeting. I think we're getting the BAA and gift account recommendations, is that correct? And then I think we're gonna do tax classification. Do we think that's gonna happen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And our joint meeting with the planning board, which it looks like, so we'll have 1 or 2 items there. You know, assuming we can move ahead, you guys got something on the Communities Act, we'll meet with them on that.
And are we gonna start with the joint with the planning board, or will that be later? in
I
the
think
week?
so, don't,
Okay.
yeah, I think, when we do like 7:10, 7:15, something like that.
Unless we wanted to do tax classification first, so that,
Can people meet earlier? Yeah.
Did you guys hear that question? You want to meet early to like 6:30 or something?
Well, if we start at 6:30, maybe we could get the tax classification.
Yeah, that sounds, does that
Okay.
sound good to people? I think 6:30 should work.
What are we allotting for I think we should have a time frame for the planning board section, because
Yeah.
otherwise it could
Well, it
end
should
up
be,
becoming an extended conversation.
I would, yeah, well, I want to,
we'll plan on that we'll discuss that at our.
yeah, I think so,
agenda setting
because
meeting.
it'd be good to
Okay.
hear from these guys what they expect to recommend, if it's going to be complicated and long, or if we got something, you know,
Try to keep it simple.
yeah.
Simple.
So, yeah, okay, good point.
So this is on the 15th.
Yeah, November 15th, right?
So
And we
start at 6:30
6:30,
instead of 7 that night.
and we'll probably do the tax classification before the planning board, but we'll
Okay.
do aim for around 7 or so with the planning board. Okay. Any other big items for the next meeting? I mean, after that, we have town meeting, of course,
After Thanksgiving.
and then we're meeting once in December right now. We're
Yes, the
scheduled for
6th.
just once in December. Okay. The only thing I am trying to meet with, I saw Mayor Sisitsky at that forum, and he is interested in meeting and discussing the MBTA commuter rail, the MBTA advisory board, and Michael may be there as well. If you guys didn't hear, that Mayor Sisitsky has been appointed to the MBTA Board of Directors, which is like a big deal. And so I just wanted to chat with him about, you know, what his agenda, our interest is with the MBTA, how he sees things, and also how he could work with us and the Commuter Rail Committee, which I chair, and also talk about his appointment of somebody to attend the MBTA Advisory Board, because Framingham has not been attending. They haven't had a representative. So just kind of discussions like that. So if anybody has any particular MBTA commuter rail issues or other T issues they come up with, you know, like that.
When are they gonna be done with the station?
So I could add that, we could add that to the
Yeah.
agenda.
The
I'm
one-
I'm not sure how much he knows, given that he's been on the board for like 3 weeks, but yeah.
I did get some feedback, just with the shuttle that we have, that
Oh, yeah,
the
the
people that are
shuttle.
using the shuttle it's great in the morning because they're able to get to the station on time. The one thing I did hear is that, when trains are late, and which trains are typically, they can be 5, 10 minutes late,
Yeah.
with some regularity, the shuttle is on a schedule, and it's a posted schedule. And so a lot of times the shuttle will leave before the train gets there. So in the evening, nope, not terribly helpful at all.
Wait, from Framingham?
From Framingham to go back to Ashland. It leaves because it has a posted schedule, like if you
Oh my
look at.
gosh, you mean they don't wait for the train?
They don't wait for the train.
What?
They don't wait for the train. So I've heard from people that have missed the shuttle to go back home,
They
go
get
back
off the
to
train
Ashland.
and there's no shut?
There's no shuttle. No, you can't. You literally can't.
So do they have to wait? Are they waiting a half hour, or?
They're probably Ubering over to their car
Oh, my
or back to Ashland, wherever they, yeah.
So the driver of the vehicle doesn't know that the whole point is to get the people off the train?
Jesus.
But if you check like the MBTA schedule, you will see like posted times for the shuttle,
Yeah,
and
but
the
How
shuttle,
about some common sense?
no kidding.
Don't the trains also post if they're late? Like if they're-
Yeah, you know
Oh,
they're,
yeah,
you know they're late generally.
there's texts that go out, there's, alerts.
Yeah.
Just the people
Well,
on the bus aren't.
Instead of posting an exact time, say it, call it that train, the 6:30 train, when it arrives.
That's astonishing. So Wow.
hope it gets there
Yeah.
at 6:30.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not unusual for the train to be
Yeah, exactly.
5,
That's
10
why
minutes
just-
late.
Sure.
Right.
It's-
Just change
Right,
how
it
they.
takes longer to get people off at various stops and, wow.
If it leaves South Station a few minutes late, it just kind of, anyway, I'm just sharing that.
That's
So-
astonishing. Yeah, well, that's, wow. Thanks for that, yeah, good follow-up on that. Okay.
That's laughable.
And just some of the, some of the invitations we've received, that I just noted, like Veterans Day, we've been invited to, people get that. So I don't know if we need to,
Each person needs to respond.
yeah, so everybody needs to respond, and so do that. And Temple Shari Shalom invite us to the installation of Rabbi Craig, so people, I'm considering that as well as the Veterans Day thing. I think the,
Yeah, same here.
and the Valentine's Forum we talked about, we haven't scheduled, but that's gonna be in January, right? We're still thinking about that?
January 22nd.
Oh, you did,
That's-
okay,
That's in stone, 22nd?
Well, it's
That's-
etched.
that's what you're
It's someplace,
proposing?
but it's not in stone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the edge of sketch.
So that's a Monday night.
It's a Monday night.
Who knows, yeah.
Yeah, just
Monday, okay. Is that kind of things, people think that's kind of realistic and possible, and, yeah, the 22nd. Yep. That also reminds me about the MMA conferences coming up. Is anybody registered
Yep.
for that? I
I
know
am.
Susan sent something
Susan,
out.
I'm registered. Susan registered me.
Anyone else? Well, just think about it, or it's really interesting. I don't know if I want to go into,
Convalescing my wife.
yeah. So that's something to think about, if you're interested. So I think that's, everything else? So I think that's it. I guess if there's nothing else, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.